So I saw you started in 2013, so you've been going since before kombucha got really cool?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I kind of thought we got in late, but yeah, I started drinking kombucha in 2011 and I really liked it from like the first time I had a bottle. I enjoyed it. Then I started making it at home. I went to Maui and had Maui kombucha, which they I think started in like sometime in the 2000s, and that was the first time I'd had fresh kombucha, like kombucha on tap, and I really liked that. Um, so when I came back to Oahu and was looking for kombucha on tap, and no one was making it, so I kind of got this idea. I wanted to start a business doing that, and it took a couple years to get it going, but eventually started small at Cool Market, and then moved out to farmers markets, and then picked up more like wholesale accounts like Down to Earth and Whole Foods, and kind of grew from there.
That's awesome. So, how did you I know you so kombucha on tap, you said was kind of your experience
hmm
in Maui that you wanted to create here. Now, are you still doing that? The tap?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because initially we only did product on tap, and then we had Sprout Sandwich Shop in Kaimuki.
Yes.
They really wanted to be a customer, and originally we thought we were going to be able to put a tap machine in there, but they have a limited their location is kind of, it's kind of small. So they
Yeah.
didn't have enough room for a tap machine. So they're like, we can really only do this in bottles. And then we started bottling. And then most of the accounts we had both tap and bottles in, but we were predominantly tap, like kegged product. And then with COVID, when the taps were always considered part of like the food bars or the deli bars at the Whole Foods and Down to Earth. So when Whole Foods and Down to Earth got the mandates to shut down their food bars, they shut the tap machines down.
Mm.
And then so there was a shift away from tap sales with COVID, unfortunately, and then bottle sales really picked up because around that time too, we picked up the military commissaries as accounts, and they only do bottle sales. So there's been a shift where now we're selling most of the product in refundable, reusable bottles versus tap. But yeah.
Awesome. So we'll get to the bottles. But so did you get started like all in, like invest, or did you kind of grow slowly, it sounds like? Start small and build.
Yeah, kind of yeah, I had a full-time job when if it started, I think probably around September of 2013 was when started ramping up to do like commercial production. And then I think October was when we started manufacturing at Kakua Market. And then I think November of 2013 was like our first sales. But then it was, it was slow at first, which is understandable. And then yeah, we were at Kakua and then started doing the farmers markets at some point, and that's a great way to get feedback because you're giving, customers samples or product and you're getting like instant feedback. And then I think yeah, got into to Down to Earth was our next accounts, and then got into Whole Foods, and then it picked up a number of other accounts like Beatbox Cafe and Celestial Market and Nalu Sandwich Shop and a number of other accounts that we've um, provided kombucha to. And cold brew coffee, we also do cold brew coffee.
Mm.
So,
Oh yes, yes. I knew that.
okay, yeah. So we
Yeah.
currently have th three brands under the umbrella: Sky Kombucha, Oahu Kombucha, and Hoku Coffee.
Yes. And it doesn't
Yeah.
say the same name, but I had a feeling it was the uh same deal with the bottles, and it was Waimanalo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're all kind of under the umbrella, and they're all sustainably packaged. So,
So for the small businesses, out there? I know you said when you were at the farmer's market that you were getting feedback. Did you develop did you make changes in the beginning based on feedback? Was that difficult or challenging?
Um, I think it's always hard when you've created something, because when you're at the market, the people don't know that you're the one who's like made it and like put all this like love and effort into it. It's like your baby. Um, but it's good. And then I think with the kombucha, it was mainly which flavors people liked and kind of getting that dialed in. And then one offshoot of the market was actually starting to make coffee.
Mhm.
Because with kombucha, it's gained popularity, but in the beginning, like less than half of people knew what kombucha was. So there was a lot of education. And then I would say in general, about a third of people like it, kombucha, a third of people don't like it, and a third of people are in the middle.
Mhm.
So you'd be giving out samples, and some people would drink it and be like yum and want another one, and some people would spit it out right in front of you, and it just, you just, I don't know, it's people are people, and yeah, just don't take it personally and move on. But then, so coffee, one of the primary reasons that we got into coffee was because everybody knew what it was. So it was like you didn't have to explain it. And if you were at the market and people wanted a cup of coffee, then, or a cup of cold brew coffee, then that, they already, Americans are very familiar with coffee. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Mm.
So, yeah, I could see that being really difficult as far as feedback. I mean, a lot of people when getting started, like there's some and not everyone is gonna like your thing, and that's
Hmm.
fine. But then, like, how also do you take feedback to, like, I noticed your kombucha is really light, and I really like that. Like, and actually a lot of the like little people that make it, it's very thick, and I actually, is that something you're aware of? You must know
Yeah, no, that
about your.
is intentional, and that is like my personal preference as a brewer because in the when I started making kombucha, I wanted to make I made a kombucha that I like, and then I always kind of like to use the tea and the kombucha base to accent the flavors, where you kind of have you have like the kombucha base or foundation, and then you can add like taste the flavors and taste the different notes and like the fruit and the herbs that we're using. So yeah, that was intentional, and that was my personal preference because like I've drank a lot of kombucha. Pretty much any time I see a new kombucha on the market, I'll usually buy it, usually multiple flavors, and try it. And it's something, as a brewer and a kombucha lover, I enjoy trying other kombuchas because it like I enjoy trying them and it gives me ideas and yeah. So yeah, so I had because yeah, you're right. Some kombuchas tend to be very like black tea heavy, very dark, can be very vinegary, and can be almost overpowering. And then in the kombuchas that I was enjoying drinking were more like light and effervescent, and you could taste the fruit or the herbs or the whatever they were being infused with. And that's what I wanted to do with Sky Kombucha. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that's what we did do with Sky Kombucha.
awesome. And did you guys always have so many variations? Or was that?
Yeah, I guess we're kind of unique because most brands have focused on, three, four, five flavors. And for us, like we're constantly innovating. Like we have, I mean, literally over 100 different, um, thing like roots, herbs, fruits, vegetables, like you name it. And we just have, like, I have a whole dry goods storage area that's just full of different things that we've tried. And that's something we enjoy doing, like on tap, is trying new flavors and then rotating them. And then when it comes to bottled product, you have to have a UPC, and usually at the stores they have, specific tag for each flavor. So for the bottles, you have to be more rigid, just because of the way stores operate. With the keg product, we can really innovate and try new flavors a lot. So it's something that we're constantly doing based upon customer feedback, or, other, like, we get most of it comes from our customers. People will be like, you should try this, or you should try that, or I've got a soursop tree going off in my yard. Like, if I get you some soursop, will you make a soursop kombucha? And then, yeah, it's just like we're glad we have a tap wall here in Waimanalo, and then we have 8 or 9 flavors of kombucha on it at all times. So usually when we're gonna try something, we'll put it up there. And then myself and our employees and different customers we have come through, we'll try it and we'll get feedback, and um, go from there.
Cool. Do you guys have a physical location or is it just for
We
people
have
that
a
know you?
self-service tap wall. Yeah,
Oh,
no, we have a self-service tap wall in Waimanalo. And then that, started off with, I think, 2 taps and 3 taps, and then it's grown. I think there's 12 taps there now, but we have 3 flavors of cold brew coffee, and then we have 9 flavors of kombucha, and it's located at our lot in Waimanalo. And when you come to the lot, you just pull straight to the back, and it's under a covered area to the left, and then people bring containers and refill them, and there's a Venmo that people usually pay for. There's a Dropbox. Some people pay cash, but most people pay via Venmo.
yeah, Venmo's been great.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like it's yeah, yeah.
Really taking off. Cool.
It really is. Yeah, everybody's going cashless, and it's convenient, to, yeah, to have it.
So when did you get into the zero waste side?
That was important to me from the beginning, and it was I didn't want the success of my company to lead to the downfall of the environment.
Mm,
And then, I guess, yeah, my concern in the beginning was, what if it takes off and it becomes huge, and then I'm pumping out millions of bottles a year that are ending up in landfills? It's like I wouldn't feel good about that. So the sustainability was built in the beginning, so that the customers always had the option to reuse it, and that our success as a company wouldn't lead to like, wouldn't harm the environment.
mm, awesome. And I take it when the zero waste that you're talking about on your site is the zero waste program, um,
Yeah, so
an international group.
no, we don't. I don't have any certifications or accreditations or anything. No, it's just something. So the kegs are all reused. Like, kegs are 100% reusable. We, wash and clean and sanitize them, and the kegs are all refilled. And then for the bottles, they've always had, the deposits were higher in the past because we were using different bottles, but I think it went from $1.50 to $1.25 to $1, to now they're at 50 cents. So we've always had deposits on the bottles that are related to the cost that we pay for the glass and the label. Um, so yeah, and it's something that we like to do to encourage our customers to be sustainable. And it's also like a 50 cent, coupon basically on every bottle. If people utilize it that way, you're basically getting, 50 cents off the purchase price for returning them.
Yeah, wow. So you started that program at $1.50.
Yeah, we used to have larger bottles. There used to be a 16-ounce bottle. And then as we when we were originally buying glass bottles, we were buying by the pallet. So that was more, they cost more, to get them here with shipping and everything. And then as you move up and start buying bottles by the container, you're able to save money because you're, buying a larger quantity, and the shipping costs go down significantly. So as we've grown into economies of scale. Um, yeah, we've been able to source our bottles more effectively and then therefore our costs because it doesn't really make sense to refund to offer more than what the bottle would cost you to replace in a way. Like, if you're paying a quarter a bottle or whatever, or more, then I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought it out, but I just always tried to price the refund around the cost of what the bottle would be, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole philosophy in zero waste. I've done some of their trainings is all about, looking at the economic value of now, granted, they get into plastics and all sorts of things, which I think is a very debatable area, but with glass, of course, that's a much yeah, so that's kind of the whole philosophy. So, do you know like your return rates? Like, do you get good return?
Yeah, it's around 15%. So, I'd like it to be higher. I think the highest it's ever gotten is around 20%, but it's usually, I think, around mid-teens. Yeah, and then usually once every 6 months I will run how many bottles we've sold versus how many have been returned. But yeah, it's around, 15%. So it could be higher, but it's 100% higher than pretty much everybody else out in the market. So, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of people doing that when it's not a common thing for people to do. It's not, the other bottles don't do that. So, and you're in
Mhm.
all these stores and you're, so yeah, you kind of have a lot of unknowns with that. Interesting. So, do you actually recycle the bottles or do you reuse them?
No, they're washed and rinsed and sanitized, and then sometimes we have to replace the labels depending on the condition. But in an ideal scenario, a customer gets their bottle and they, hopefully just rinse it out with water and then keep it out of the sun because we have some people that I guess will store them on their lanai or whatever, and then the labels don't. If they're out in the sun for more than a couple of weeks, the labels start to fade. So sometimes we have to replace the labels and then but yeah, and then we bring them back and they are washed and rinsed and sanitized, and they're also inspected because sometimes they'll get chips or something in them, and if that happens, then we just recycle them normally. But yeah, no, as much as we can, we'll reuse them.
That's awesome. I have one right here. And yes, if I'm
Oh,
if I'm negligent
great.
and I leave them in my car, I can start, yes, I have to get them back right away instead of
Yeah.
building a
Where do you take
collection.
them? Yeah, where do you
Kalab,
take them?
I'm right down the street from Kalab.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, they've been a great partner. Yeah, I really appreciate them.
Yeah, I'm in Kailua, so you're everywhere. You're Hawaii, down to earth, Whole Foods, and different flavors at different places.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So are you in Whole Foods on the mainland?
No, we're only on Oahu.
Oh,
Um, yeah, you actually can only buy our products on Oahu. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that will ever change, but yeah, for right now, you can only get them on Oahu. And then
local.
we'll occasionally, usually a handful of times a year, we'll get people that want us to ship to the mainland, and it just doesn't. It's hard to ship glass. It's hard to ship a refrigerated product. It's hard to ship from Hawaii because even the 2-day shipping is like 3-day. So, and then it's expensive. And it goes against all of our sustainability goals too, to be shipping product off island. So, yeah, so right now we're only on Oahu, and I don't know if that will ever change. But I don't know. So,
Cool. Awesome. So are there, so you kind of have the local focus and the trash free, zero waste focused. Both those things are, I mean, they affect each other, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. They're one and the same because once you start shipping off island, it becomes more difficult to get your returns back, or you have to figure that in where if you're gonna ship to Maui or ship to Big Island, are you gonna have somebody there collect your bottle returns and then ship them back to you? And that just gets to be a lot, logistically difficult and a lot of, yeah, just a lot of touch points and then a lot of like carbon footprint too.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
yeah.
do you know about the recycling? That's one area I've just, am always researching and having trouble kind of really nailing down um how recycling works, but I guess I have found that there's commercial, like there's different licenses or different ways that people recycle. So I don't do you know any details about the glass that you're recycling or
Well, I mean, we're just using, I guess I'm not sure.
because you're
The,
primarily not recycling the glass. So you're not having tons of glass recycling out of that 20% that gets returned. It's not like you're having to recycle large quantities.
yeah, no, yeah, correct. Yeah, we'll occasionally, most of what we recycle is breakage. It's like we're manufacturing and a bottle drops on the floor and breaks, so we're recycling the glass shards type of thing. Yeah. Or, bottle comes back and it's been dropped and chipped, so we recycle those. But yeah, we don't, yeah, I generally just use like the blue bin that the city and county provides you and picks up every 2 weeks. And that usually maybe once a month I'll take that out and that'll be, all the recycling that we'll generate for the whole company. Yeah. So for the most part, we don't really recycle. I've been like tangentially, like externally kind of evolved. I know, so there's Zero Waste Big Island, and they've had different legislative proposals, and like I've been working with them for several years, both in terms of trying to pass legislation and trying to market different programs because I think they're trying to do a sustainable bottle program on Big Island. And then there's a couple mainland models, mainly like in California, Oregon, and I think Washington states, where the state provides a standardized bottle and then companies can use it and then they're all like returned and sanitized and then like go back through the system that way. So I think that they were looking at doing something like that on Big Island. I don't know what happened with it. And then there was Sustainable Coastlines Hawaii does some work too, where they do I know they had the container return program up in Haleiwa, and I'm
Yes, that
not
was
sure if
beta.
that is still okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened with that. And then I know it's interesting. Sorry.
No.
It's interesting because like everything, when we did the farmers markets for years and they always required that you use compostable products, but then they always go in the regular trash, which goes to the incinerator. And if you read those compostable products, it says the wholesale packaging that they're only effective if they're composted in a
That's true.
commercial composting facility and they have to get up to like 175 or 180 degrees or something to fully break down. And have one of those on Oahu, and if we do trash just being properly sorted to fit into that, but I guess it is what it is. Um, but hopefully it'd be nice if we could actually like have. I know my neighbors over at Full Circle Farm, I believe, have one
Yes,
of the only composting things
they
on
have.
island, and that's great. Like it's wonderful to see them do that and be pioneers in that field.
Yeah, because theirs is an industrial composter.
Yeah, no, yeah, theirs is yeah really great. And I know Yeah, Sean, he I think primarily is doing waste that people are bringing to him that he's collecting either at the farm or through farmers markets. And then I guess he's getting some commercial compost too, but it's good to see that, that's happening.
Model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it every
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah. Left
Okay, great.
love.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's
yeah,
on
it's
my
good that
list to
that's going
talk
on.
to.
So hopefully that'll happen more. Um, okay, cool. Yeah, he's catty corner from um our lot, so not
Well,
far at all. But yeah. Um, but yeah, so there and then I think yeah, it's Sustainable Coastlines has made a couple efforts to try to improve sustainability. And I'm pretty sure it was them. I know several years ago they were really looking at the recycling on Oahu because like the rumor was, and I'm not 100% sure this was Sustainable Coastlines, but it was somebody in that field. And the rumor was basically that the recycling was being incinerated. And I don't know how much truth there was to that. And I guess that there are national security laws that they don't have to provide all that information publicly. Um, but I know it's like curious because a lot of the trash, like people will sort it, into recyclables and normal trash, but I, I guess I've heard and seen that a lot of it ends up going into like the same garbage trucks. So that's kind of interesting because I guess that would lead you to assume that it's all going to the same place and maybe that they're sorting it on the back end or something. But um, I just generally heard that the economics behind recycling stopped making sense when like there were more equality in economics between countries and then shipping cost and then the cost of recycling or the metals and glasses and stuff going down. But that's something that hopefully there'll be more transparency about. But I really think the solution is like the reusing or reducing, because if you're reusing then you're just avoiding that whole loop.
Yeah, thank you. I took some notes on your
Yeah.
tidbits.
Okay.
Yes, I think ultimately, like reusing plastic, recycling plastic is not, which I know the legislation for zero waste was a little focused on the value of everything. Um, and yeah, I mean, from my research, I feel like plastics and there's just no real, we need to stop using them. Like that's the real solution and use things like tin and metal. Um, and yeah, I want to put a air tag in some recyclables and see where it ends up. Um,
Yeah. 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 No, I thought it crossed my mind as well. Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, you definitely can. And then yeah, I think I just think single use in general is generally not the way we want to head as a society. And the amount of single use, even during my lifetime, the past 20 to 30 years between, there was no bottled water or not plastic bottled water when 20 or 30 years ago. And then all of a sudden it became like this huge trend. And now everything is, you used to go into a restaurant and it was a metal fork and a porcelain plate. And now everything is single use and generating trash. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's consumer preferences and consumer spending will ultimately drive that. Although it seems like our current trajectory is going towards more and more single use. And I think, people want to go down a level and be like, well, we can do this type of single use, but not that type, or that type is bad. And I'm like, let's just take it up to the high level and just single use in general is a problem. And you could say certain types of single use are better than others, but really it's like just single use is a problem.
The issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So in your company then, I know you said like the barrels is it like as far as other areas other than the bottle usage, like that's unique how you reuse your barrels. Is that
No, or the kegs, you mean?
yeah, I guess.
Um, yeah, a lot of kegs are reused. There was this big trend 5 or 6 years ago for these like plastic throwaway single-use kegs, and I know at least one of the local like kombucha company from Maui was using them, and other bigger national brands were doing that. And I guess the benefit to the manufacturers, and you don't have to pay for return shipping, but then you're basically sending like a tremendous amount of plastic out into the world for, single-use containers so somebody can consume 5 or 6 gallons of your product. And like I just never felt like, I don't know, I never felt like it was worth it or like we were that special. So yeah, there was a big trend in disposable kegs, which I'm sure people are still using. Like I know a lot of the beer and wine companies use them. And
Mm,
in I think the reasoning is that they don't have to pay for return shipping on like the metal keg. Um, but yeah, no, our kegs are they're extremely durable. They should last for 30, 40, 50 years. Like they're basically yeah, they're just really strong, and they're stainless steel with they have like rubber tops and bottoms, and um, they minus like minimal replacement parts, like they should last like a very, very long time. So yeah, so we're thankfully we don't produce a lot of waste, and then the waste we do produce is generally cardboard and mainly for packaging. And in that I think tends to burn pretty clean. And from my understanding, they need more cardboard and paper material to like kind of keep the balance in the incinerator. Um, and it's not great. I looked into like plastic or wooden crates or something, but then there's a lot that goes into constructing those. And then yeah. So maybe one day we'll look into doing that of getting like totally reusable cases, although yeah, cardboard is the majority of our waste byproduct right now, which is I guess not terrible. It seems like it breaks down pretty easy or if can be incinerated pretty quickly. Like plastics, which are creating microplastics, which will be around for thousands of years and creating fumes and stuff when they're burned. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, it's awesome to hear someone that cares about all this stuff who's, um making products because I think that has a really big impact, like that you care and you're making products for people on Oahu. So in the other
thank
islands.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So what has been the most challenging part of your business?
Ooh. I think business in Hawaii and business on Oahu are challenging in general. I think probably out of all 50 states, I think Hawaii is probably the hardest to do business in. And it is it kind of parallels like the residential situation, but rent and land and availability are all at a premium. Utilities are relatively high. All of your input costs are going to be higher because you're having to pay to ship things here. Labor is higher. So you're just in I guess that's somewhat offset by you can, the, the retail price for things is, also higher in Hawaii, but yeah. Um, so yeah, yeah, I think a lot of, kind of the paradox is you start a small business and everyone assumes you're on an easy street. and it's really not in your best interest to tell them otherwise. But I know, a lot of small business owners through the work I do, and it's most of them are very hardworking. I mean, you have to be, and then most of them are, some of them are doing all right or doing well, but I've seen a lot of businesses close, especially over the past couple years. And a lot of it especially for retail businesses, has to do with rent, that they've just seen their rent prices go up significantly, and they're doing the math and looking at how much they're taking home at the end of the day. And it's like for a lot of them, they're like, they end up doing all the work and making nothing for themselves, by the time they pay their rent and pay employees and cover their operating costs. It's like, why would I want to work 60 hours a week to come
Right.
home with nothing?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that I would say, that we've been fortunate. Like I have a great relationship with my landlord. He's been very supportive. If it weren't for him, I don't think I would be doing this still. We've had sometimes I wish like things were bigger and better with the company. I'm grateful with where they're at, but I also could look at there's 100 different ways it could have failed over the past almost 11 years now. So I'm just grateful that things are still going, and that we have avoided pitfalls that could have been fatal. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful. I enjoy what I do. I feel good about it. I like going out, interacting with our customers. Like, generally it's like I'm making a product that I'm proud of, that I feel like it's good for the community, that's healthy for people, and people are receptive of it. So it feels good to be spending my time and energy doing that. Um, yeah, so I would, yeah, just say it's not the hardest part about doing business in Hawaii is like just the land thing, where like there's not enough warehouses, there's not enough housing. The housing and warehouse space is relatively expensive. So it just makes it a challenge, and it's something that most, if not all, small businesses face on a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how did you manage? I mean, I'm an accountant, so I know costing is often probably what I see as the most challenging thing for people when they're expanding, is really getting
Yeah.
their costs, knowing that they have the
Yeah.
information to actually, a lot of times they base stuff and they don't have the right costs, and they can, like you said, end up breaking even and maybe not even have expected that to happen. And that can be pretty
Yeah.
difficult for people.
Complete 100%, Amanda. Yeah, no, that has been that's something like I still struggle with. And then, in the beginning, I kind of, because I have a background in finance and accounting. So I was like, I can do this. So I kind of, jotted it all out on paper. And I wanted to have like a 20% margin, because I kind of had everything figured out. And I was like, okay, if I can, make 20%, then that'll be enough to cover like my living expenses. And then what I hadn't figured was all the taxes and insurances, because when you get into it, you're kind of under the radar, and then I filed business registration and everything. But then a lot of these things kind of come in arrears, where it's like you've worked for 3 months, and then, oh, 6 months. Okay, now you owe general excise tax. Like now you owe income tax. Like now you need to have this insurance or that insurance. So you take on a new customer and they're like, we need a 1 or 2 or $5 million general liability policy. And you're like, oh shoot, like I didn't really, I just didn't know about that, because it's the first business I've ever started. And then you hire employees and you have unemployment insurance and workers' comp and like auto insurance. And it's just like, so it's like that. And then as you go, you start to bake that into the formula. And then it's kind of hard to predict sales, because you have so much overhead that you really have to kind of spread that out over what you think your total like volume or sales is going to be. And that can be hard to predict, because the market is always shifting, and then it's really competitive. Like the beverage industry, I didn't realize it at the time either, but like you have some of the biggest companies in the world that, you have like Coke, Pepsi, all the alcohol beer companies, like they're literally some of the largest companies in the entire world. And when you're at a Safeway or at a Whole Foods, you're competing side by side next to these companies that have, billions of dollars. And it's like, I think Coke makes as much product in a second as like we make in a year. So it's just like totally like, in some ways I'm amazed that we're still going and I'm thankful for it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so costing is a challenge, especially because you don't know what the future is going to bring in terms of expenses, and you don't necessarily know what your sales are going to be. And then I found over time too that our sales tend to be somewhat secular. Like the summer months, we definitely sell more product than the winter months because everything we make is like a refrigerated beverage. So when it's warm and sunny and people are going to the beach, they're buying more kombucha and more cold brew. And then when it's cold and rainy and people are staying inside, like they're probably getting like a hot cup of coffee or tea. So, yeah, but they're things that like I learn a few things every year. So hopefully I'll be able to keep going long enough to hit some form of, I guess knowledge or mastery about the the beverage industry.
Yeah, wow, that was a vivid picture you painted for the big brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, and I didn't know, but they watch market trends, and when they see a trending area, they will go in and buy up companies before. I read a really interesting article, but like they want the companies to have like 2 to 300 million dollars in annual sales, but they don't want them to get over the $500 million gap because I guess at that point you can start to gain economies of scale of your own. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll look and it's like, like coconut water, kombucha, like functional beverages, energy drinks. Like sometimes they'll create them in-house, but 9 times out of 10, they will go out into the market and buy up companies that are emerging, but before that they can get to the point where they can like kind of stand on their own 2 legs. So yeah. And then it really wowed me how many brands are owned by the same companies that you just don't realize. Because as a consumer, I would go in and look at a shelf and be like, oh, there's 30 brands in here. Like this is 30 independent companies that are all competing in pricing against each other. And then it's like now you're like, whoa, like 28 of those are owned by the same company, and it's like most consumers have no idea about it. Um, so yeah. And then yeah. So distribution is the same way too. It's refrigerated distribution in Hawaii is there's aren't a whole lot of companies that do it. So you have, the distributors too are like another kind of gatekeeper or consolidator where they might be taking brands owned by different companies, but then they're all going through the distribution company and then they can have a lot of power and a lot of clout and a lot of reach, and then they have a lot of they obviously have good relationships with all the clientele that they're serving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that's been another um because we self-distribute, which has its benefits. I mean, the major benefit is that we have a direct relationship with all of our customers, which is wonderful. And I think that that's worth it. But then, some of the larger distributors in Hawaii are going to, 3,000 or more accounts. So they just have so much more reach and so much more like human power and just so much more like salespeople and delivery drivers and stockers and orders. And it's just like they just are just much more like just larger companies. So yeah, yeah. I guess one other thing that's related to sustainability is the made in Hawaii or the Hawaii branding. And what's
Mm-hmm.
interesting is there's a law that's been on the books for like 30 years. It says if you're going to use the made in Hawaii laws, if you're going to use any Hawaii made reference in your product, you have to have 51 or more percent of its manufactured value from within the state. And then there just is not much enforcement around that because it breaks my heart because you will see consumers that will go out of their way to buy a local good and not realize that it's 100% made on the mainland and owned by a company that's based on the mainland and either has like no or little local good in it or products. And that's another thing people will do is they will take like a pinch of local salt or a pinch of local honey or like a pinch of local mamaki and they'll throw it in a 10,000 gallon vat. And then as big as they can across the front of their label, they'll put, made with Hawaiian sea salt or made with, Hawaiian mamaki and never disclose like, it's 99.98% non-local ingredients. But I don't know. To me, it's consumer fraud, or it's definitely unethical. But I guess to each their own. But yeah, that's something it's frustrating is being actually like a local manufacturer who is dealing with, the hardships of being a manufacturer in Hawaii to see other people manufacture on the mainland or abroad and then, slap a local name on it. And then I feel like they're tricking consumers, which I don't think is the right thing to do. But
Mhm.
yeah.
That's some great thoughts. The self-distribution, I've been very interested in local made as well. And that was one thing that I really got from various interactions and programs over the years is that, our local farmers market, our local companies, like we're missing the distribution, the middlemen that the large companies, um, even filling product for like vegetable sales, but that whole that there's this huge industry around the middle, that like you're doing yourself. Whereas these other
Yeah.
companies are part of this massive system that,
Well, they have to be, right? And it's more um yeah, so Hawaii is kind of its own microcosm, but if you look at the mainland, my understanding is it's more competitive. You could have multiple distributors servicing an area where in Hawaii, if I'm a mainland ice cream brand or a mainland whatever it is, beer brand, beverage brand, whatever product, crackers, whatever, I pretty much have to have a distributor here. So the distributors have a lot of um like bargaining power because they're gatekeepers. Like if you're manufacturing ice cream on the mainland and you want to get it out here, well, you can ship it here frozen, but then you have to have somebody who's going to pick it up for you, keep it frozen, have a frozen delivery truck, go out, place your orders, do your invoicing, do your delivering, like take back any expired product you have. And yeah, so you need somebody to do that for you. I think is a legitimately local manufactured brand, you don't need it as much. And I think in a lot of ways it makes sense to self-distribute because it is, the greatest benefit is you've got that relationship. You're going in and doing the deliveries and you're meeting with the owner or meeting with the people who work there and you're talking about your product and you're asking if there's any problems or feedback or you're able to tell them about new products that you have coming. You're able to go into their locations and buy their food or buy something there to show that you support them as well. Um, and I think it's more affordable in terms of for what you'd have to pay to have a distributor. I think you can do it more affordably in-house. It's more affordable to, have your own vehicle and have your pay wages for someone to do it.
cool. Wow. Yeah, a lot there.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. And that makes a lot of sense, as far as distribution. But yeah, products, it I have a lot of respect for business owners that do products because there's so much that go into it. So um, yeah, yeah, this has been so insightful. Um, do you have any future vision, 5-year plan? I'm not a huge fan of 5-year plan, but
Okay. Not not right now. I'm just trying like COVID was a lot of up and down. Um 2023 seemed to be kind of trending in the right direction, upward direction. 2024 has been slower, and that's something that I've heard from pretty much all of our accounts. Like pretty much all the restaurants and stuff that I go into have all said that they've had slower years so far. And we've also had in the past probably 2 years, I've probably had 10 accounts close, um, which is unfortunate. You know, I've had maybe a couple open, but there's definitely been more that have closed locally than opened, which is unfortunate. Um, so I think right now it's just focusing on the day to day, kind of keeping the status quo. Like I would like to get to the point of eventually doing more sales and doing more marketing and getting the product out to more potential customers. Although right now I'm thankful I have a really good team of people around me and they're all like super great at what they do. So that makes everything run smoothly. Um, and then it just kind of just like, focusing on the day to day now. And then it's the Made in Hawaii festival this weekend. I've never done it before, but maybe sometime in the future participating in that sounds like it would be a lot of fun, but also like a lot of effort. Everyone I've talked to that's done it is like you're just exhausted by the end because you're putting in like 16-hour days and you're on your feet for like 10 hours a day and they're just like it's just grueling what you have to do there. But it seems worth it, a great way to make connections and get your product into customers' hands. Um, Maybe get back into farmers markets. We did farmers markets for like 5 or 6 years and kind of quit before COVID and haven't really been back to any direct sale retail events. So that's something that maybe to revisit in the future. Um, Demoing, we used to do a fair amount of demoing when we had tap machines in Whole Foods and Down to Earth, and we have not demoed in probably 6 or 7 years. So that I think would maybe be good just to introduce new customers to the product or reintroduce people to it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Social media, I'm kind of because like I can't. Social media is good, and like you have to have a social media presence in this day and age. Although I don't have a product that I can sell on social media, so outside of maybe trying to sell like shirts and hats and stickers, um, I can't really monetize it, or at least I haven't found a way to. But I think, with the right social media person or people, it's like good to have that influence. And we've had good people on it in the past, but maybe just revisiting it, I try to revitalize it. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any ideas or anything you would like to see or anything that you can think of?
um, have you heard of Farm? I think it's called Farm Link. They do
Yeah,
delivery.
they're a great customer. Yeah,
Do you
we've
work with
been
them?
there for a couple of years. Yes, we do. And they're actually a really good customer and yeah, they're like yeah, I really enjoy working with them. So yeah, they've been yeah, really helpful. And then that one kind of picked up during COVID too. And then yeah, so they order usually a couple times a month, and then they'll keep our products in their warehouse and then deliver them as people order them. And they also participate in our bottle return program. So it's like Co-op Wine Market, Farm Link, Down to Earth, Cocoa Head Cafe, but only for the coffee that we sell them. Trying to think. There's a handful of vendors who participate in our bottle return program, and I appreciate them for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I feel bad when I go into Club Hawaii with a big bottle and the girl's like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah. If it's somebody that's unfamiliar, like, wait,
Yeah.
yeah, but they do for us, they do for Aloha Sweet Remedies. I know that
Yeah.
there's a couple. There's a woman who makes mamaki tea locally. They'll collect her bottles there, so it's good. Like, Co-op White does a great job of supporting local businesses. They really go out of their way to do that. So I know I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in my vision, I definitely have like a big vision in supporting, companies like yours and zero waste. My business is internet marketing, which is, I'm online. My everything I've done is online, and so I've learned the online world, and I do have a vision, a hope of really engaging customers as a middleman, to support, zero waste and to kind of, because I think buying in, what I've personally found is, buying in an individual choice feels small. If I'm at Kalapawai and I'm making the choice, first of all, I often choose your kombucha because I can return the bottle. So I'm one of your 15 to 20% for sure.
Thank you.
And because that's important to me, but I totally realize that most people don't have the bandwidth to um make choices that way. Like it's just too many choices, right? It's just like too much mental effort. You probably have to work and feed your family and put this on the table and da da da, and so you can only care so much about making the little choice. And so kind of being is similar to the farm link, only far more focused on zero waste. So like milkman style, the old fashioned, which would be harder with the product like yours, but I don't care, I think that it still needs to be done. And so creating a type of middleman where someone can buy in and then get all the products,
Okay.
and kind of have some options within that. But so it's a big vision. I'm nowhere near it, but
Yeah, it's good to have the vision. Are you familiar with like Protea, Zero
yes,
Waste, and
yes,
then like Keep It Simple over in Kaimuki? Okay.
yes, yes, yep,
Okay. Because it sounds like, yeah, we have similar missions, and then it sounds kind of like that is what you're looking for, but yours would have a like delivery and online component
everything.
versus
Yeah.
a brick and mortar. Yeah, and that would be because I think too for consumers, if you could, potentially make it more affordable, and it would definitely be more convenient if you were delivering, but where you could, yeah, have like reusable containers and like your laundry detergent runs out or your shampoo or your dish soap, and you just like place an order, put your empty container out on the porch, and then like a new one's dropped off. Like that would be wonderful. Um, yeah, do that.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
making it easier to buy in, I feel like in my own experience, being someone who goes out of my way to make these choices, and it's a lot of time
Uh-huh.
to go to Protea and to go here and to drop off my bottles at three different places. And to, da, da, da. It's like
Yeah.
normal people can't do that.
Yeah.
For sure. Even if they do care, they're just not going to have that type of bandwidth. And so, exactly what you said about price, like, how do we make it better than the current? So, like, how do we go and make this even more alluring, than our current options for shopping and for getting stuff? And yeah, I feel like when I'm focused on individual products, I can get a little like, oh, maybe I don't like this. Whereas if I'm doing it with everything and I'm buying into this thing that I trust, then it's like, well, even if I don't totally love the laundry detergent, like whatever. I feel like I'm having a big impact because all of these, small single use containers aren't being used. So that's been
Hmm.
my yeah, vision, but we'll see.
Great. Well, I'm glad. I hope to see it, become reality. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. And I think, you know, kind of, I guess, sadly, I really feel like it is going to be people's personal experience with the environmental impact of our current situation that is going to create change for most people. Like they're literally going to have to see so much plastic wash up on the beach that they decide that they're going to change, or people like all these microplastics we have in our bodies now, like who knows what kind of havoc that's going to wreak in the future of diseases and stuff related to that. But I feel like unfortunately, like it's going to be suffering, for that
Mhm.
will create change. And the sad part is by that point, it will take 50 to 100 years or more to really reverse the damage that we've done because it's already like, even if we stop today, I think, it'd take 20 or 30 years for the current stuff we have to fully break up and wash up on shore and do all that. Although thankfully there is more awareness, like there's, groups like Sustainable Coastlines that are active in cleaning and preventing and bringing awareness. So yeah, hopefully things will keep trending in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, you're very inspiring, your story and your
Um,
business, and I've been inspired by it, and so I'm really thrilled to talk to you, and I'm definitely going to stop by and check out your tap and fill up some of my,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
bigger
Cool.
bottles.
Yeah, please do. And then yeah, yeah, let me know what you think or yeah, that would be wonderful. And yeah, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. So did you have any other parts of your story to share, or I don't want to keep you past an hour, so.
Yeah, no, I don't know, just that yeah, I've been thankful and fortunate, thankful for we got a great group of employees that are all hardworking and do really high quality work. Thankful for my landlord Kevin, thankful for all the wholesale customers we work with. Like we've had a lot of customers that have stood behind us and stood behind our brands, which I appreciate. It's a super competitive marketplace and there's always going to be people that'll come in there and promise you more or lower prices, but I, appreciate the business owners we work with sticking with us and appreciate our customers too. Like it's always great to, you know, for every for every hundreds of bottles we sell, I maybe will get to meet one customer, get one piece of feedback. Like that's one weird part about wholesaling versus retailing. Like retailing, you're seeing your customers every transaction. Where wholesaling, like you're usually delivering to the back of grocery stores or just stocking shelves, and then you're leaving, so you're kind of missing out on that piece of the engagement or the loop. But it's always wonderful to get feedback because it, completes that cycle of creating something and then having somebody enjoy it.
Yeah. Awesome. So
Yeah.
what is your favorite? You had kind of tapped on it, but
Oh,
favorite
oh,
part
my favorite flavor.
oh yeah,
Oh,
flavor.
my favorite part of oh, okay. My favorite part of being an entrepreneur or of
Yeah.
doing Sky Kombucha. Um, I like that you can set your own schedule as an entrepreneur. I would say I think that you put in more hours throughout the week, but you have the flexibility versus like a normal 9 to 5, or like say you've got a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, or your kid is sick at school, or you have a event you want to go to. So it's like as an entrepreneur you definitely have to be accountable and do the work, and you will like the work doesn't ever end, and that's hard for some people because it's with you all the time, where a lot of other jobs you can leave and leave your work at work. But I appreciate the I guess the flexibility or the ability to have the control to set my own schedule. And then as far as my favorite flavor of kombucha, I'd say my go-to is probably ginger. We kind of
Mhm.
have fruity flavors, rooty flavors, and then herbal flavors. So I find that sometimes I'm in the mood for one of those, sometimes I'll feel like a lavender hibiscus, sometimes I'll feel like a strawberry mango or a blueberry acai or pitaya lily koi. But I'd say in general, like ginger is probably my go-to. And then I like to blend them on the tap wall too, because it's a nice part since we have all those flavors. You can do like a ginger blueberry or like you can mix and match and try different flavors. So I like to do that.
The lavender
Yeah.
is my favorite.
Okay.
Yes, I do love
Cool.
I didn't know I liked lavender anything, but I love lavender kombucha. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I like it too. We normally keep a lavender lemon on tap here. We have typically lavender lemon, Thai liquid, and ginger are kind of permanent because we have a lot of people who like those, and then the other five taps will rotate with different flavors. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking. I can't wait to check out your taps and yeah, this was great.
Yeah, let me know when you're gonna come by if you know, or you can stop by anytime. Um, but yeah, thank you, man. I'm thankful for your time and thankful for the interview and thank you for reaching out and thank you for supporting Sky Kombucha. And
Yeah.
then yeah, if there's any follow up, let me know. And then who knows, maybe we can do a follow-up interview in a couple of years, or hopefully there'll be some movement and legislation and things will be in a more positive state in the future. That would be great. Great to see that.
Yeah, and if you know of any stuff in that realm or that needs support or anything like that, I'm connected with some of the zero waste people and yeah, I'm always
Okay.
happy to get involved. And the sustainable coastlines, the people that do water testing, I can't remember the names of any organizations right now, but I try to be involved and at least
Okay.
supportive of anything that's going on that I can do. So
Are you on the Zero Waste Hawaii? They have like a listserv, I think, or like a Google group. They anytime they have legislation or they need testimony, they will send emails out.
I gotta check
Um,
that again because
okay.
yeah, I had reached out when I was working with the mainland zero waste and but I don't think I never got connected with zero waste on Oahu. So I wasn't
Okay, I think there's only one on Big Island, or at least that I'm aware of.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, there
yeah.
was a group on Oahu, but they never I couldn't get in touch with anyone on the site. So I guess maybe they've faded away or whatever. But I'll check out Big Island.
Okay.
So
Okay, yeah, there were a couple people over there that were very active, and my understanding is that they're the ones who've introduced the legislation in the past several legislative sessions, and they're working on, trying to make zero waste a reality, or at least get some positive traction in that direction.
yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, it's very inspiring that you're there in the grocery store, a local company, and you're doing something, right. It's great. It's very inspiring. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I'll see your products around anyways, and I'll definitely let you know when I stop
Yeah.
by. That'll be great.
Okay. Sounds great.
Awesome. Well,
Th-
thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, I'll follow up an email and send you
Okay.
report stuff. Yeah.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, great. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.